big old cats, early Jaguars like this one, flamboyant machines that you nowadays only really see in the movies. Space, grace, pace, symbols of a forgotten age of luxury. My name is Monty Claxton. I have a particular passion for these old cars. Come with me on a journey and I'll show you a few more. I'll introduce you to some other crazy enthusiasts. We'll meet some guys who restore them and who keep them on the road. Let's go. Follow me. Some people are passionate about things. Some collect egg cups, some collect teapots, some collect old cars. I collect old cars. I like old cars. In general, I like old Jaguars in particular. I'm on the trail of an old Jag, I'm told. I won't know until I lift this tarpaulin. I've stood here and looked at it, and I think I'm on to a winner tonight. I think when I lift this up, just as I'd hoped, a 2.5 litre Mark V. You can tell it's a Mark V from the position of the fog lamps. 1,600 of them were made between 1949 and 1952. Not very many, quite a rare car. Let's have a look at the rest of it. It's been slumbering here for years. As you uncover it, you get the shape, you get the excitement, you get the drama. The condition as usual, you find them in places like this, in old barns, and they're always covered with old tarpaulins. There's always dust, there's always hay, and inside, everything has been stripped from the car and dumped inside. It's in cartons, it's just piled in there. Next door, I see another one. I'm sure, I think it's another one. And and you can tell immediately. There we are. And you strip it off. Jaguar 3.5 litre. And better still, look, a very rare, a drop head. Drop head. Probably 1952. They made only 1,000 of these cars. Inside, just as you'd expect, a shambles. Everything stripped off, dumped inside. Parts of the hood, bits of the woodwork, newspaper, Elvis Presley about to marry Priscilla. That sort of thing. It's been here for years. It's in a perfect state. And I hope someone with enthusiasm one day will be allowed to restore it, put it together, get it out on the road, enjoy it, let everyone else enjoy it. It's just wonderful. What a brace of early Jags, Mark V. But this is how they start. But behind them all is quite a sad story. They're individuals, you see. The contents haven't just got inside by magic. They've been placed inside by someone who's meant to perhaps restore them, take them to the next stage. When these cars were made, it was in a different era. It was 50 years ago. It was back in the times of the Meccano set. Some people will remember the Meccano set. Later came the Lego. But a Meccano set was a toy made to develop the imagination of children, especially boys, of course. You started with a box of bits and pieces and nuts and screws, and you screwed things together to make what you saw in your imagination. If you saw a doll's house, you created a doll's house. If you saw a crane, you created a crane. If you saw anything at all that was able to be made, you made it. Different philosophy today when the kids sit in front of television and PlayStations. These cars were made the same way. They started with a chassis, a very strong, rigid chassis, usually two box sections joined together with girders welded at the end. They bolted on the springs. They bolted an axle under the springs. They fitted the wheels on the axle. They fitted a body to that to make a complete car. The doors came on, the seats went in. Gradually, they built the whole thing up from a bare platform. It's typical, I think, and it was probably the case in these, that an owner may have said to his wife one day, it's a retirement project. In my retirement, I'm going to restore their old drop-head Jaguar. And he's gone into the house and he's got his tools together, and one morning he set out to the garage full of enthusiasm, and his wife said, "It's nice that you've got a passion, dear. It's nice that you're not under my feet. I'll bring you out a cup of cocoa at 10 o'clock. And he stands in front of his car. He takes off the bumper. Where would you start? You're going to restore this wonderful motor car. It's in a dilapidated state. What's the first thing you can do? You pull the bumper bar off. It's the easiest. Next, off come the bonnet tops. Then you take the doors off. You start to run into a problem because most houses have a double garage with the family car next to the project. As soon as you start taking things off a car this size, where do you put them? The only place to put them is by moving the family car further back. So gradually, from the back of the garage where your family car lives, you start with a pile of mud guards, a boot lid, a sliding sunroof perhaps, seats. Gradually the family car gets pushed further and further out. Your wife, coming with the cocoa in the morning, is slightly more agitated. She starts to suspect this is not a simple little hobby that she thought it was going to be in the beginning. It gets difficult too for the man involved, because after he's done the simple things, after the bumper has been taken off, the mud guards, the seats are pulled out, he goes out to the garage one morning not knowing what to do. He's there with his tools. He's pulled all the simple things off. What to do next? Then he starts on the finicky bits. He'll take off the distributor, easily taken off. He'll find that by sitting at the table, the bench in the workshop, he can turn that one distributor into 1,000 pieces. The pieces go in Marmite jars, peanut butter boxes, all manner of things. You can see it here. If you look inside this car, I'll bet you there's that sort of conglomerate. In the box we have bits of woodwork. We go deeper in. We find this old man decided that when he couldn't take anything off the car, he would start having some chroming done. It's been in there for years, beautifully chromed, greased to stop them rusting, and all stacked in a box together. But the next stage in this is the one that brings the cars here in this sorry, sad state. Very often, halfway through his restoration, this old chap dies. What to do with the project? What to do with the old car in the garage? It sits there taking up half the double garage. In the other half, the family car is still stuck half in, half out. His missus rings the son-in-law. Could you come round and do something? The son-in-law is a young, accountant in town comes round with his modern car. He's got no idea where to start. He rents a trailer, comes in on a Saturday morning, picks up a heap of things, puts them on his trailer in order to take them round and leave them in a shed that he's got empty at the back of his place. In driving there, the wind flips a door off the trailer. It goes into a ditch, and it's probably still there. He tries to move the motor. He lifts the head. The head is heavy. He can manage the head. The head goes on the trailer around to his shed, but the block stays behind. The block is stopping the family car going into the garage. With difficulty, he maneuvers it out of the garage, pushes it against the garage wall, probably under a downpipe. In order to cover it from the weather, he finds a Hessian sack, puts it over the top of the block, and this is what we see. A very rusty block that is separated from the head, may never ever go together again. This is what happens with these cars. They become problems. They start off usually as a retirement project. They become a problem, and then who wants them? Uncle Harold has got a farm in the countryside, and he says, when I've cleared one of the barns, you can put the car in the barn to get rid of it, leave it there until next spring, and it gets pushed in here with his tractor, and they cover it with some tarpaulins, and there it remains. And 10, maybe 20 years later, an enthusiast gets on the trail, hears of this car, and comes out, and this time he's lucky. Many times he's not. He goes to hunt these cars, and it's a false trail. But this time we have a winner.